It happened on an ordinary day, one of those quiet mornings when life seems still and nothing feels out of place. A wealthy man stood under the shade of an old tree, his eyes fixed on the wheelchair in front of him. Sitting in it was his 9-year-old daughter, bright-eyed, fragile, unable to walk since birth, but full of life. They weren't talking, just existing together, like they had so many times before. The morning sun filtered through the leaves, casting shadows that danced on the gravel path beneath them. The girl had her favorite scarf draped across her lap, her small fingers playing with its fringes. The millionaire, a man who had everything money could buy, looked worn in ways money could never fix. But then, out of nowhere, a boy appeared, no older than 10, dust-covered, barefoot, clothes torn, hands rough from the streets, a beggar child. He looked the millionaire dead in the eyes and said something no one expected. "She's my wife," the boy declared, "and I'm her husband." Time stopped. The millionaire didn't blink. He didn't speak. He just stared, frozen. And what happened next shattered everything he thought he knew about love, worth, and what it means to be human. The man had not grown up with wealth. He earned every dollar with the grind of ambition and the ache of sacrifice. He built empires, bought skyscrapers, and lost sleep over numbers. But nothing ever made him feel more helpless than his daughter's fragile body. Doctors gave her diagnoses, treatments, therapies. Still, she never walked. Yet through it all, she never stopped smiling. He adored her, yet his heart broke every time he saw her tiny legs dangle uselessly in that chair. He felt responsible, as if somehow all his success couldn't buy the one thing he truly wanted, her freedom. They often took walks, or rather, he wheeled her through parks where life moved slower. She loved birds. She loved to listen to the wind. She would ask questions no adult could answer. "Why do the leaves dance only when no one's watching?" she once asked. He didn't have an answer. She didn't need one. They were close, but her world was still small. He'd never let her mingle much with others. Too delicate, too precious. Or maybe he was just too afraid. That day when the boy stepped forward, it wasn't just the absurdity of his words that stunned the millionaire. It was the certainty in them, the fearless way he claimed her, not as a joke, not as a stunt, but as if he truly believed she was his. The boy looked nothing like someone who should be speaking with a millionaire. His shirt was stained and one sleeve had been sewn back on with mismatched thread. His hair was matted and his eyes carried something strange, something most adults lacked: raw honesty. He stood tall, or at least as tall as his tiny body could allow, and repeated himself with even more conviction. "She's my wife. I am her husband." For a moment, silence wrapped around them like fog. The girl didn't seem surprised. In fact, she giggled softly, her eyes twinkling in a way her father hadn't seen in weeks. "He's telling the truth," she whispered. The millionaire blinked. Once. Twice. He looked down at her, confused, then back at the boy, whose posture never wavered. "Do you know him?" the father finally asked. The girl nodded. "He's my friend." And then turning to the boy, she added, "You came." The boy smiled. It was missing a tooth, crooked, innocent. "I promised I would." The millionaire was speechless. His hands gripped the wheelchair handles tighter. All the logic in his mind told him to pull her away, call security, walk off. But something deeper, quieter, told him to stay still and listen. It started weeks ago, perhaps months. The girl had been going to the park more frequently with her caretaker. The father was too busy, often lost in meetings or flying across time zones. He made sure she was taken care of, surrounded by the best nurses, the best wheelchairs, the best therapists. But there was one thing he forgot to give her: companionship. During one of those park visits, under the same banyan tree, she had first seen the boy. He wasn't begging then. He was playing a flute, poorly but with passion. It wasn't music that caught her attention. It was the joy on his face, the way he danced when no one looked. She waved to him, he waved back, and from that day they began to meet in secret. The caretaker, a kind old woman, had seen them talk and chose not to intervene. They shared stories. She told him about the stars, he told her about the streets. They both knew pain, but neither talked about it. Instead, they built a world of their own, A world where legs didn't matter and pockets didn't need to be full. One day as a joke, she said, "You always make me laugh. Will you marry me someday?" He stood, straightened his back, and replied, "I already did." They laughed. They were children. But to them, it was real. When the father looked into the boy's eyes again, he saw something he didn't expect. Not mischief, not madness, but memory. The boy wasn't making it up. He believed it. And more than that, his daughter believed it too. She looked so alive, so full of light in the presence of this street child. The father felt a wave of emotion rise in him, confusion, anger, guilt, tenderness. He crouched beside her. "Why didn't you tell me about him?" he asked gently. She shrugged. "Because you'd be scared. You think everyone outside is dangerous? But he's not. He's my friend." The boy added, "She's the only one who talks to me like I'm not invisible." The father's throat tightened. For years, he'd built walls around her. To protect her, yes, but also to protect himself from seeing her struggle. And in doing so, he'd forgotten the one thing every child needs: connection. The boy hadn't taken anything from his daughter. He had given her something. Something he, with all his wealth, hadn't managed to give her. Laughter, friendship, freedom. The millionaire asked the boy to sit beside them, and the boy did, cross-legged, without hesitation. "Tell me," the man said, "why do you think you're her husband?" The boy looked confused for a moment, then smiled. "Because I promised to protect her, and she promised to smile for me every day." The girl nodded as if this was the most natural thing in the world. "He said I'm the queen of the tree kingdom," she added, "and I said he could be my king." The millionaire closed his eyes for a second, overwhelmed. He was a man who sat across from presidents, signed billion-dollar deals, gave speeches that moved rooms, but he had never felt more humbled than by these two children, bound by nothing but imagination and sincerity. "Do you know what marriage means?" he asked softly. The boy replied, "It means you never leave someone behind." That answer struck something deep. The man's lips trembled. His daughter reached for his hand, and just like that, a crack formed in the thick walls he had spent years building around his heart. The boy looked down at his hands, then up at the man. "I don't have a house," he said quietly. "Sometimes I don't eat. Sometimes I sleep near the garbage bins because that's the only place warm at night." He said it not with shame, but with the simple honesty of a child who's known too much too young. "But when I saw her, I forgot all that. She laughed at my silly songs. She said I wasn't dirty. I was just painted by the road." The millionaire couldn't hold back anymore. A tear slid down his cheek. The boy wasn't there to ask for anything. He wasn't performing. He was just being. "She said I could be a hero," the boy whispered. "So I became one. For her," the girl added, "and when I'm with him, I forget my legs don't move." The father's heart cracked open. Years of trying to shield her, protect her, fix her, all washed away by the pure, unfiltered connection between two kids who had nothing, yet gave each other everything. The millionaire knelt down, his knees creaking beneath him. He placed his hand on the boy's shoulder, and for a long time he couldn't speak. Then with a broken voice he said, "Thank you for loving her." The boy didn't answer. He didn't need to. The girl's smile said everything. The park around them seemed to fade. There were no drivers, no bodyguards, no bankers or beggars, just three souls sitting under a tree, learning what it means to be seen. The millionaire pulled the boy into an embrace, holding him tight. The boy froze at first, not used to being touched kindly. Then slowly, his arms wrapped around the man. The girl clapped softly. It was a quiet, perfect moment, one that money couldn't buy, nor time could erase. After a pause, the man stood and looked at the boy. "Would you like to come home with us?" he asked gently. The boy's eyes widened, unsure if it was a joke. "Not to stay forever," the man added quickly, "but maybe you could visit. Be around, have meals, tell your stories, make her laugh some more." The boy nodded, too stunned to speak. "And maybe," the man continued, "we could find you a school, maybe a better place to sleep. Not because you're poor, but because kings deserve a castle too." The boy looked up at him. tears brimming. He whispered, "Will I still be her husband?" The man chuckled, wiping his eyes. "You'll always be whatever she wants you to be." And the girl, still watching them both, said, "He's not my husband, he's my hero." The boy beamed. Sometimes the richest souls wear rags. Sometimes love doesn't come in grand gestures or gold rings. It comes in flute songs and silly stories, and in the innocent promises of children. That day, under a simple tree in an ordinary park, a millionaire discovered that wealth means nothing if it cannot touch the heart, and a beggar boy taught him the one thing he never knew he needed to learn, that love sees no wheelchair, no wallet, no wound.